Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host for today's webinar. My name is Mike Lasecki, and I'm at the Maricopa Community Colleges. Today, I'm pleased to welcome you to our webinar called Effective Outreach and Recruitment, Special Populations, and today is August 20th, 2015. I'll make a little comment of this series of webinars that we've done so far by the Center's Collaborative for Technical Assistance. This is the one that has the largest, by actually quite a way, of registrants. So it's clear that this topic, outreach and recruitment, especially to underrepresented populations and special populations, is a crucial topic, I think, for all of us. So I'm pleased that you're here today. Let me tell you a little bit about the webinar details. For this webinar, you're going to be in listen-only mode using your computer or your phone, whatever your options are there. And we really encourage you to ask questions via the question window. We'll have 3 question breaks throughout the webinar, and we'll have time to get to them. There may be enough questions that we might have to do some of them by email. We can do that. We're designing this webinar for 60 minutes, and we'll be very close to that time frame. Everyone wants to know, is this webinar being recorded? And the answer is yes. As a registrant, you automatically receive a recording link. We'll post those links and the slides up on the website. We'll send you a notification. Usually takes us 24 to 48 business hours to turn that around to you. So the answer is yes, you will be getting that information. Let me tell you a little bit about who's bringing this webinar to you and our sponsors. Well, it is the Center's Collaborative for Technical Assistance with additional support by the ATE Collaborative Impact Project. What is this CCTA thing? Well, to tell you a little bit about it, it's led by 5 centers funded under the National Science Program, and you can see them there. They're the Convergence Center for Convergence Technology, the South Carolina Center, the Florida Center BioLink in San Francisco, and my own center called Maytech Networks, headquartered, as I mentioned, at the Maricopa Community College District in Phoenix. So why? Why are we doing this? The CCTA purpose. We actually got a request from the Department of Labor through the National Science Foundation. And they said, hey, this ATE program has been around for over 20 years now. We'd like to take advantage of this. That term technical assistance is pretty common in the Department of Labor world, a little bit less so in the NSF world. But items like success coaching, convenings, knowledge management, how do you manage these grants? What are the best practices? And importantly, I think what we're going to be doing today, peer-to-peer learning. You're going to be hearing from people who have active TAA grants and active ATE grants. And I know in the community college world, we learn from each other. So that's what I'm looking forward to today. So these are relevant. The next slide says, yep, they're relevant to Department of Labor grants, relevant to National Science Foundation projects and centers. And by the way, every one of us out there working in workforce-oriented programs, we can learn from this. So they're relevant to all of us. Here's the deliverable for today for this whole program. Topical webinars, which you're involved with today, that provide existing solutions. As I mentioned, these are live, they're recorded, there's Q&A, they're archived on ATE Central, a little bit more about ATE Central towards the end of today's webinar. And you'll also see on our websites other online media, including videos and a variety of things like transcripts. You will get, as a member, as a registrant here, invitations to regional discipline-specific conferences. We just had our first one in late July in Portland, Oregon. Again, you'll have invitations to identify and document your own best practices and potentially host convenings as well. So that's a bit about the CCTA. Let me introduce our presenters to you today. I'm on the left there. That's me, Mike. Let me tell you my credentials in the TAA world. You're going to laugh. I was an unsuccessful round 1 submittee. Maybe that was the best thing that ever happened to me, was not being successful in round 1. That's a joke. I know a lot of you TAA grantees are smiling at that. So that's my little joke for today. Also joining us is Dr. Frog. Gemma is Vice President of Education and Training at Aiken Technical College, and she has a Round 4 TAACCCT grant. Gemma, would you say hello to the audience, just so we can do a double check on your audio?
Thank you, Mike, and it's good to be here this afternoon.
Good, Gemma, you sound just great. Also joining us is Pam Silvers. Pam is the PI of an NSF ATE grant. And Pam, am I correct? This is your second ATE project grant?
Yes, it is. We just got this one funded on July 1st.
Excellent. And your audio sounds particularly good. Anthony, thank you for joining us today. You're in that multimedia screaming world of high impact videos, and we certainly welcome you today.
I'm happy to be here, Mike. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much for joining us. I know you've had a lot of experience in the ATE world as well as other type of grants as well. So folks, we've introduced our presenters to you. I want to ask you in turn if you would tell us a little bit about each of you. So on the next slide here, here's a poll. Now if I can get this right, I'm going to launch this poll and then you'll see a radio button that will allow you to respond. Okay. And here we go. So on the screen, please choose one of those radial buttons that says you're involved with an NSF grant, you're involved with a TAACCCT grant, both or neither. So go ahead. I see, there's lots of responses streaming in. You probably know the answer to this. It's not a difficult question, so I'll just give you another 10 or 11 seconds to do this. Okay, I can see that the vast majority of people have voted. I'm going to close the poll, and now I'm going to share the results of that poll. So that's fascinating. The largest fraction of our group, 55% that you see there, is involved in the Department of Labor side, 18% with NSF. Interestingly, 10% of us have both of those things. I don't know whether to be happy or sad for you. And some of us are hoping to get into this world, right? 18% would like to consider getting involved with a TAACCCT grant or a labor grant. I'm going to close these results now and go right back to the slideshow. There we go. It's my pleasure now to invite back Dr. Frog, who's going to talk about her Veterans to Careers initiative. Go ahead, Gemma, I've got your first slide up there.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, as Mike has introduced, I'm Gemma Frock, and I have a Round 4 TAACCCT grant. And I will be walking through this afternoon a number of the organizations and strategies that we have collectively developed with each other in order to support our veterans returning to education or the workforce. Next slide, please. One of the things that we have found early on is that joint efforts and strong relationships are essential in serving any segment of our population. But with the veterans, we chose to reach out to other social service agencies as well as economic development agencies and manufacturers so that we could develop a holistic approach and framework for not only recruiting our veterans to our programs, but also providing them wraparound services to assist them not only with their transition into the educational setting, but also with their transition into the ex-military life. And through that, we do joint presentations, as well as it really helps when your manufacturers, as well as your economic development agencies, tout the benefits for hiring veterans within their workplaces. Next slide, please. The connections to the military installations, if you have a military installation near you or an Army National Guard or such, there are a number of internal agencies within their own framework of the services that are wonderful to connect with. Every soldier or service member that is either choosing to retire from the military or ETSing, meaning they're leaving after 1 term or 2 terms of active duty service, they go through a military transition framework that includes presentations as well as assistance with, even if they're locating to another state. It's great to connect with them. Secondly, under the President Obama's era, the Veteran Services have created career service programs that you can develop in collaboration with the military installation. in order to provide a short-term certificate not to exceed 15 credit hours that service members that are planning to leave can enter up to 6 months prior to their final active duty date. Also, understanding the military occupational specialty codes and the crosswalk also help with connecting to veterans, especially if your college or organization permits exemption credit or advanced standing credit. And lastly, but certainly not least, is the Army Continuing Education System. They also do many processing briefings to active duty service members, and it's great to connect with them and become collaboration with them in terms of the educational courses and so forth that they offer on campus. Next slide, please. Our TAACCCT grant did include a number of relationships with our local social service agencies, and what we did was leverage their resources to extend the services for the grant that we did receive. And part of that, of course, was partnering with our local workforce investment board, with the various social community agencies in the community, such as Goodwill, such as American Red Cross, and other church-based agencies to provide the assistance with the wraparound services that a college may not be able to provide. We also do joint outreach with them as well as various partnerships. And you'll see on this slide happens to be the brochure that we created to help provide them with information on what the Tower program is that we started through our TAACCCT grant. Next slide, please. The veteran service agencies in most communities now have grown in both depth as well as breadth, and they are absolutely essential in being able to speak that language, because most veteran support agencies do provide services through retired or service members who have retired or have left the military armed services. In Aiken in the Augusta area, which is, those of you who know where Aiken is, it's on the Savannah River borders, the Georgia and South Carolina state. And we have a local agency that was created that's called the Augusta Warrior Project. They have offices both in Augusta as well as Aiken, and they provide additional services and seek out those veterans that have retired or are in the community that need assistance, whether they need assistance with transportation, housing, and so forth. That takes care of those lower Maslow's needs, while we then can tend to their educational benefits and work with them to increase their knowledges so they can achieve a better job. The Accelerated Veterans Education and Transition Program was started by Aiken Technical College in collaboration with the Augusta Warrior Project. What that program does, offered through the college, is to provide veterans or service members who have left the Army, Air Force, or so forth with the opportunity to increase their foundational skills so they are not using their educational benefits to be in developmental classes. We run this in a boot-style format, and it has been very successful. This way we can move our veterans right into our English 101 or Math 101 programs. It has worked very well. We are now in our third year, and it has been phenomenal in aiding us in recruiting veterans to our educational programs. Next slide, please. The other things that Aiken Technical College has done, this has not been under the TAACCCT grant, but these are things that have come about because of our outreach to veterans, is we have created a Veterans to Careers program, and this goes back to the relationships we have built with many of our local employers, as well as the University of South Carolina Aiken and the Aiken Warrior Project. We have created a program with employers will commit to hiring any of our veteran students for a minimum of 20 hours per week at a minimum of $12 per hour while they are enrolled in college. A lot of individuals assume that the benefits a veteran receives are more than enough to enable them to live and not have to worry about where the next dollar comes for their food or care for their children, and that's just not the case. This 20-hour-a-week job enables those veterans to maintain that 12 to 15 semester hour load without worrying about how they're going to support their families. We also recognize that veterans are used to the camaraderie, brotherhood or sisterhood that they have developed through their service to our country, and so we have created a special veterans student organization on campus that is led by any of our faculty members that they themselves have veterans experience, military experience. And last but not least, the Veterans Student Organization wanted a place that they could meet, swap war stories or whatnot that they may have, to have that feeling of closeness again. So we have created a special Veterans Lounge and Help Center. That picture you see there happens to be one of our AVETS class. Next slide, please. So all of this has led Aiken Technical College to compete for a Round 4, which we were very thrilled to be awarded in October of this past year. And our grant is called Individuals Safely Training to Achieve Climber Credentials. Next slide, please. The grant is geared towards increasing opportunities for veterans to earn college credit, but most importantly, to gain a first step credential that will enable them to be hired by any telecommunications company within the United States, or they're all over the world, and they can get their entry-level position that will help them gain a position starting in the realm of $17 an hour. So some companies do pay much more than that, but it gets them their industry-recognized credentials and enables them to grow through their associate's degree on the job by taking the next 3 credentials, which we'll talk about, that will be online. Next slide, please. As I said, it is a stackable credentialed AAS degree. It is built-in industry-recognized certifications. Also, we are working with at least 4 four-year colleges to articulate our 2-year associate degree into a Bachelor's of Science degree at a number of institutions. That tower that you see to the right happens to be our students that are on a climbing exercise on an external self-support tower. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an example of what the stackable credentials will look like. Aiken Technical College already had the first one in blue developed before we applied for the grant. So the grant is enabling us to expand this first certificate into the associate degree and providing us the resources for it to be delivered online. This was very important to us because most veterans, or even underemployed or unemployed citizens, their goal is to get a job, but our goal was to help them not only gain a meaningful employment, but most importantly, continue in that career path within that sector with advancing education to help them gain higher level positions. So the three credentials in beige are in the process of being developed. The second certificate will be offered online starting this coming spring, and then likewise we'll execute the next one in fall, and the final one will be done by the next spring of 17. The credentials automatically embed recognized certifications like OSHA 10, rigging, climbing, first aid, CPR, and the other certificates that the industry would like them to have. Next slide, please. The most important thing for the grant was the support of the distance learning and other opportunities for support that we were able to embed. And those are coming from our social service agencies, but also within the grant, we were able to add a resource for student support, because we all know that if you leave college and you're taking classes online, life can get in the way even more so than if you're a student on campus. So our student support coach tracks these students, works with them, and if sees that they're inactive, they will probe them or find out what's going on. If there's a concept or something they're just missing or they need extra coaching, they will have. We also have a specific recruiter that works with not only our community but also our military installations, and also works in placing our students. As of today, we have completed and graduated about 110 of our students, and most of them have gone on for employment, and some have decided already that they were going to move into the network-safe systems of telecommunications. So they have gone on to enroll in the college's network systems degree program. Next slide, please. One of the reasons I believe we are successful is the first certificate. As you know, we had the AVETS program, so we do not require the veterans or service members that have left to take the COMPASS exam. What we do is go ahead and admit them, and what we have done is embedded the foundational knowledges that they need to be successful with the content in that first certificate. And yes, we do have some physics, we have some math, we have some engineering and other concepts built in. We never use the word geometry or things that might frighten them because they feel, well, I've never had geometry. Our instructors have done a tremendous job of embedding case studies and problem-based scenarios that leverage these concepts. We also have a very strong coordination with our telecommunications companies who give us current information so that we can lead into problems or case studies within our coursework. Our next phase is we're hoping that the companies we place our students with, we can move them into an apprenticeship to also help them while they're on the job. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, we believe iStack is a pathway not only to a job, but most importantly, a pathway to a telecommunications career. But it is also a pathway for a seasoned employee to gain education and gain the credits that they would need for the experiences that they already have. And this is also true for any of our military or our retirees that have worked in MOSs, the military occupational specialty, in their armed services that are very similar to the civilian world. Next slide, please. The takeaways that I would like you to think about as you process through this later after the session is how to leverage the resources in your community, strategically select and build those relationships that will most help you as an organization, and seek out other veteran support agencies and leverage their funding as well. Next slide, please. One of the most valuable lessons that we learned at Aiken Technical College is not to assume a veteran is college ready. We often think they've been out there, they've been doing tremendous work for our country. We think that they're mature, they're adults, and they have all those skill sets that we would like our normal college population to have when they come in the door. A veteran is not different than that population that we receive. Many of them are underprepared for college. Many of them don't know how to mix into a college campus because of their service they've had in Iraq or Afghanistan. They have a set of experiences very unlike our students, and so sometimes they feel very misplaced with our regular college students. And lastly, but most importantly, from my perspective, is to respect their knowledge, their rank, and the responsibilities they've held. That is a way to meet them of where they were and then bridge them into your campus. Thank you.
You know, Gemma, just a fascinating presentation, especially going into all the details that you did about approaching this population. And in fact, that's one of the questions that's come from our participants online. I'll read it to you. Do you then, since you have this assumption right here on the screen, don't assume a veteran is college ready. So do you provide a separate orientation for vets attending college, and is it mandatory if you do?
Well, that's an excellent question, and yes, we do. We run a very special orientation for veterans. It is not mandatory, but we usually have 90+% of all the veterans enrolled on campus and their family members attend that orientation. It is led by our veteran service. We also have individuals there to answer other questions they may have on college. Very good question, and yes, but we did not have it at the beginning. We added that.
Good answer there, and thank you folks for that question. I have a number of questions that have come in through that question window, and we're responding to them as we can with the time we have. Here's one for you, Gemma. In the TAA world, those of us involved with it know that there's often restrictions on the spending categories you can use. Have you run into that with these veterans? You can't do everything. You're not allowed to do everything. Are there workarounds? What's been your experience there?
That is correct, and there are many things that we provide through the TAACCCT grant that was developed prior to with the partners. Having been engaged in as a partner in another TAACCCT grant, I was very familiar about the do's and the don'ts. So we worked very hard prior to writing the fourth grant to make sure that those services we wanted to provide, we already had developed a collaborative partnership. So we knew that what we wanted the grant to cover was to help us put it all online and to provide the support to recruit in place. And then the other elements we received was for some equipment, and that is also very restrictive. The marketing is restrictive. So that's where the other veteran service organizations, the unemployment offices have come in greatly because they have stepped in. And while they receive a small stipend from our grant, it does not cover all the services because they get other federal or state funding to support us.
That's a good response. Here's a follow-on question, another one you can tell people are interested in this area. They like your idea of doing that 20 hours a week as paid for vets. Where does that money come from? Is that TAACCCT money used for that 20 hours a week?
Great question. It comes from the industry. They hire these individuals out of their budget, from their bottom line, because we tout what it is, the value to hire a veteran. They understand teamwork. They know what it means that showing up on time at 8 o'clock doesn't mean your alarm's being set at 8 o'clock. So it's their values, and that's where our economic partnership and our manufacturing council, they really have clamored to hire these veteran students. It does not come from tax.
All right, I can see people saying, aha, online. One of our presenters, Anthony's got his hand raised. Anthony, do you have a question for Gemma?
I do. Do you have a mechanism in place to assess the skills the vets have and also to identify which skills they may need?
Yes, we do. One of the embedded assessments we use is WorkKeys. WorkKeys does not give us their how they will respond in an educational framework as a test for adult basic ed does, but it does tell us their strengths as it applies to applied technology, applied math, reading, locating information, which helps us greatly. And secondly, we also look at their MOS, what they had in the military. So in other words, if we had someone that was a climber in the industry and they want to go into network systems, we automatically know that they had very little computer skills. So we do that, and that's partly done through our advising when we recruit them, but it's also done through that orientation.
Excellent. Thank you, Gemma, for that. Last question in the time. We have another one from the audience. Do you have we have two, so I'm going to sort of synthesize them. Do you have recommendations for approaching the military for recruitment? I mean, who do you call? Where do you start? How do you get yourself into the services to do this recruiting? I mean, is it just connections you have, or do you look in the phone book? How do you do it?
Yeah. That's not quite an easy question, but my first response would be if you have a military installation in your community, I guarantee you have someone in your college or that you may or may not know that already has connections. That would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation is to not reach out to the provost or the commander of the post. You want to reach out to the Education Services Director under ACES. That would be on the website for that military installation. And secondly, would reach out to the Transition Services Officer. Those would be my first recommendations.
Good response. Okay, so now you can take a breath, Gemma, from all that talking and responding quickly to the questions. Folks, we're going to translate or transfer to our next presenter, Pam. Pam Silver is going to talk about a different population, similar in some ways. But how do you recruit, and what are your strategies for connecting and recruiting females? Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you all very much for attending today. And as we got our grant in 2012, we started looking at why did we not have enough women in our STEM programs. And we found that there were two underlying facts. First of all, women do not see themselves in STEM professions. When they look at the pictures, when they look at everyone, they see males in those professions. And the other is that when people do marketing for STEM professions, they often are talking about what salary you can earn, what the job potential is, and what technologies you are using. These items appeal to males, and you're going to get more male students when you talk about it. But if we wanted to recruit more women, we had to look at what skills appeal to women and how do we market them. Next. In our research, we found that women pick careers based on three things. One, they want to help others. Two, they want to work in teams. And three, they want to solve problems. If you ask many young women why they're going to be a nurse, doctor, or veterinarian, it's because they want to help others. However, if you ask our employers in STEM programs, what skills do you want for graduates, they will also say that they want people who can help others, work in teams, and solve problems. So we had to work at closing that disconnect between the professions. So we started out with a marketing theme. Next. And when our committee got together and talked about what we could do, we said, well, women aren't picturing themselves in the career. So we started our entire campaign, and all of our marketing materials have the link to picture yourself in the profession. And we did this in our display board, in posters, in bulletin boards, and in bookmarks. Right now I'm going to show you briefly what we did for each of the items. Next. When we go out to any setups for career fairs, when we go and talk to employers, even here on our campus in the lobby, we have a display board that, as you can see, says picture yourself in technology. What you cannot see really well on this picture is where the faces are for the three women. There's a mirror so that when students are coming up, or potential students, they're looking and seeing their face in this career. Underneath each of those pictures, it has picture yourself helping others, working in teams, and solving problems. On the left side of the poster, we do include the information that these jobs are in demand, that they pay higher salary, and that the growth potential is really great. So we don't ignore that. It's just not our primary part of the presentation. Next. We also needed posters both to give to the colleges and to post around campus, and also to high schools, and to post at places like the YWCA. And so we included the Picture Yourself in Technology campaign, and these are printed out as 11 by 17 posters that people can use. And then we also realized that a lot of women do not see themselves in a technology career. When you think about someone in a technology career, you think of Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs. You don't instantly think of a woman. So we have the Picture Yourself in a Technology career. Now, some of these women are nationally known women and really recognized in their field. And we also realized our students might not connect with them. So you'll notice on the second row in the middle is a local person who started a company that just was recently brought out for a large amount of money, so people would recognize her name. We also include graduates on the poster. And so we just say, picture yourself in a technology career. These women did. Next. Next. Okay. We posted around campus, and when our building was built on our campus, it included bulletin boards in every classroom, and instructors at a college do not know how to decorate bulletin boards. So we did up these posters that have notable people in technology. We used information that we had permission from STEM Connector to be able to use, and so we had something on Sally Ride of a notable person in technology. Although if I think about my career, I would not be able to picture myself in that career, especially as a non-traditional student. So next. We also included local people in Asheville. Jenny Greer has a technology degree. She was interviewed and what she did with her technology career. However, a lot of our students are returning students, so even looking at getting a bachelor's degree or continuing the education is hard. So next. And go ahead and click the next button here too. We included notable graduates from AB Tech. And so both of these women are students who came after losing jobs for plant shutdowns. Both of them only have their associate's degree, and both of them got what are considered really good jobs in the Asheville area. So this is something that our students could picture themselves and relate to. You also notice on these posters, we don't say notable women from AB Tech, we say notable graduates from AB Tech, our studies show that enrollment does increase. Although we significantly increased female enrollment in the identified programs with the grant, we also increased male enrollment. So this did not turn off men, it just also attracted women. Next. The other part that we had is we wanted takeaways when we went out to events. And we first of all thought about a flyer. But if you look at flyers, after events, they're on the floor, they're in the trash can. So we wanted something people would take home with them. And so we did the bookmarks. And each of our programs that were targeted for the grant have on the front a picture yourself. For example, on the left side is computer information technology. And it says working in teams, finding solutions, helping others. On the back side, we once again repeat the salary information and the job potential so people can see that it's there. It's just not our main marketing point. Next. After we created our marketing materials, the next job was to go out and look at recruiting students. How were we going to recruit more students and get more of them in our program? As you start recruiting students, you have to determine what your goal is. If it is career awareness or if it is recruiting, and a lot of times people mistake events that they're doing career awareness as recruiting events. For example, next. If you go to a middle school career day, it is really great marketing. It is really great to let young people know what the career opportunities are, but that is a career awareness. It is not a recruiting event. If you are recruiting students, you need to be talking to people who will start your college, in the next 6 months to a year. And so a lot of times people put a lot of investment on middle school career days, even early high school events, and then they go, why hasn't our enrollment increased? You might be raising the level for all people. Ultimately, that will have more women, but not instantly. We have something on our campus called eSTEAM, and it is for 7th grade girls one day and 7th grade boys the next. And we participate in it. We talk about careers in STEM, and it is a great PR event. Often we get featured in the newspaper. We get television time. So it's a great public relations event, but it isn't going to give us more students. The same as we participate in some Women in History Month events at the area schools. Once again, really good career awareness events, but they're not going to change our numbers. Instead, we had found that we had to go where the students are. Next. When we looked, we wanted to look for students who possibly could be ready to enroll at our college the next day. On our campus, we have something that is called an Aspire program, and you might have something similar. Aspire for us is for displaced workers who have lost jobs and a lot of times are receiving WIA support, and they're required to attend the class, so they're predominantly women. Go and talk to those students. They usually have funding to be able to attend our college. They're required to be attending school, and they're really interested in getting jobs that they can help others, but they also want to know that they can support their family and create a career. An example of this is I went and talked to the program, and there was a student there who, when I asked what she wanted to do, her goal was to be able to get a job as a clerk at a hotel. Her mother cleaned the rooms. She was hoping that she would get a counter job. I talked to her, and she decided to come to our college and major in computer technologies. She's now about 7 classes from graduating, has almost a 4.0 average, and she never pictured herself in a technology career until I came and talked to their group. We also talked to GED students. Once again, the GED program is held on our campus, and the students are often ready to take the next step to becoming full-time student at AB Tech, and so we are able to recruit them. We do offer an innovative expo for high school teachers in the summer semester to make them aware of our programs and the potential for their students, and we give them material to send home, and some of the materials are for them to send home to the parents of potential students. I also go and talk to our Job Link program. a lot of people there are not aware of the programs that are offered at our college, and I take a lot of my cards and we get a lot of referrals, and I get a lot of students who say, oh, this person gave the card, can I come and talk to you about your programs? The same respect, our college has approximately 7,500 curriculum students. So the people in our student services who do career counseling are not aware of all the programs on our campus, what the major skills are that employers want, and how they can make use of it. So I go to a lot of student services meetings. I talk to the people and provide them information specifically about what our programs offer and how we can help students achieve their potential. Next. When we got our grant 3 years ago, the original one, we found it was really important that we did not try to reinvent the wheel. A lot of people are doing some amazing things for recruiting more women into STEM programs, and I wanted to give a shout out to NCWIT, which is the National Center for Women in Information Technology, and the IWITS, the Institute for Women in Trades, Technology, and Science. Both of them have provided great resources as far as training time, free webinars, and free materials. So if you're looking for a really good place to start, I'd really recommend both of these websites for it. Next.
You know,
I guess
Pam,
we're ready for questions.
Yes, we are, and there's several in them, questions that have come in, as you could imagine, Pam. Here's the first one. You mentioned these efforts have significantly increased your female enrollment. People are wondering, what does that mean? What does significantly mean?
Okay, and for us, I guess this was amazing change. We started with the grant when we wrote it we had 39 women in our identified programs. After 2 years, we went up to 75 women, which was an increase from 12 to 19% because we also increased male enrollment.
Now, I think most of us would agree that's significant, right? You saw an absolute number increase as well as a pretty substantial percentage overall of the program increase. I know there's still a way to go, right? 19%. You have a target? Do you want to keep doing that every year? You want to go up by that much every year?
Ideally, I want to be happy when we're at 50% for the enrollment.
Yes.
Studies show, but studies do show that if you reach approximately 30% to 33%, it becomes kind of self-sustaining, that women don't perceive themselves as being in a minority in the class, and even the perception by everyone is that you're more balanced. So if I can get up to over 30% in our programs, it will feel like it will kind of sustain itself.
Well, that's a good response. Here's a question. Several people asked this, and I'll reframe this. I'll read the question. Do you do any other things for current students other than the posters and campus awareness? And sort of a corollary, one person said there doesn't seem to be a lot of emphasis on social media here. So maybe can you address that, how your approaches have worked, what you do beyond posters and campus awareness, and what do you think about social media?
Okay, and I will tell you that we were here initially talking about the recruiting. Once we have students within our grant, we have an emphasis and do problem-based learning in the classroom with an emphasis on designing problems that appeal to all students. We have a Women in Technology group on campus that includes an ambassador program for the current women to help us do the recruiting efforts and to provide support for each other. We have, much like they were talking about, a VetNet Cafe at Gemma.
Yes.
We are starting this fall a Women in Technology stop-in point once a week that women can come in. Just have started it this week, so I don't have the results. And we also do have a Facebook presence, a website, and have really done, I guess, Facebook and a website for the current students.
Okay.
That's another seminar conference topic, I think.
Sure. Gemma, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have a question for Pam?
Yes, I do. Pam, I know how important it is to have role models for women, but a lot of these STEM careers are still heavily populated with males. Do you bring any men in to talk about how they can serve as role models and discuss what types of skills and strengths they need to really work on to succeed in an upward mobility?
Yes, we do. Some of our mentors are males, and NC WIT has a really great 10 ways brochure called 10 Ways to be a Male Advocate for Women in STEM. And so we share that with our males, and we once again look at how can we nurture people no matter what. So we do have male role models, and we also do have the talk of, here's what men can do to help be supportive, and also a male perspective of how a woman could succeed.
Good. Lovely answer. Thank you for that question, Gemma. Folks, we're perfectly on time as we move into our final section. I'm going to advance the slide and invite Anthony to tell us about his fascinating initiative on bilingual videos.
Thank you, Mike. Before I begin, and right off the bat, I would like to apologize. I'm from Boston, so I talk fast and I sound funny, but I'm going to make my best effort to slow it down.
We'll put up with
All
you
right.
somehow. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm one of the producers of the ATTV video series of Pellet Productions. And prior to Pellet, I was a staff producer at the Boston PBS affiliate WGBH for 11 years. In fact, at our small group over at Pellet, all 12 of us come from PBS. And we're committed to producing high-quality educational media, and we have been producing recruitment, instructional, and professional development videos for the AT community since the late 90s. So today what I want to talk about is this ATTV video series, bilingual video series, and our soon-to-be available video customization tool. ATTV was launched in 2009, and it's a free online resource that has over 200 videos, with new videos featured every Monday, that anyone can use for student recruitment. So educators, students, parents, school counselors, and others, they visit the site or its YouTube channel to learn about technician education opportunities, preparation, workforce development, and real-world careers. In addition, many organizations take these videos, they embed them directly into their websites, and they use the series to educate the public on technician education. We've also seen in the past few years that a lot of cable access stations are using the videos across the country. In fact, currently 113 cable access stations in 42 states are airing these videos, these ATETV videos. And more than 300 colleges and organizations have requested or downloaded the videos from the website or RFTP site for use in whatever venue they see fit. This series of videos has been shot in colleges and industry from across the country, and they feature an incredibly diverse range of students and participants, from the traditional student to the grandfather returning to school, and from females in engineering to deaf students. The site has a lot of video to offer. And the best part, it's all free. Okay, it's all funded by the National Science Foundation. And we've learned that video is a great way to engage an audience and show them what technician education looks like and the incredible career opportunities available. Next slide, please. So to date, all of our ATTV video segments are available in English only. And through our research and development on this project, on this bilingual series project, we learned that Spanish subtitles on the current English language videos would not work for our target audience. The target audience wanted to see their peers within these videos speaking their native language. That was so very important, and we found that throughout not only our research with the target audience, but with the colleges and high school counselors. So this new series is what we call an origination and not a revision of what we already have. And so this is why. And through our research, we found that there were a lot of cultural differences, for example, that we needed to address within this series. So we learned that Hispanic and Latino students, for example, involve their families when making decisions about their education or careers. And according to a Pew Hispanic survey study, 79% of Latino parents surveyed stated that they quote-unquote had a lot of influence over their child's education. So that's an important design element of this series that we don't currently have in the English language series. So what we want to do is make sure that these videos appeal not only to the students, but to their families. We also learned that religion in school and workplace proximity are important in the decision-making process. So taking all these elements together, they're going to be featured in this new series that will showcase and be aimed at Hispanic and Latino audiences. 30 of the videos are going to feature profiles of Hispanic and Latino students of all ages and all backgrounds enrolled in advanced technology programs across the country. And then another 6 videos of this 36 series library will be aimed at families to help them understand these types of educational pathways and their value. It's going to show the career opportunities and provide a more general look at STEM and workforce development. Now, most of the production, the past 18 months, we've been videotaping these profiles and visiting industry. So currently, we're post-production or editing on this series. Next slide, please. So here's what we hope to accomplish. These videos will help potential students and their families discover how to research 2- or 4-year colleges and universities offering technology programs. It's going to help them discover the educational requirements and the skills they need for specific technician careers. These videos will develop a knowledge of what it's like to work as a technician, and the viewers will become familiar with typical employee expectations and earning potentials. The series is also going to develop an awareness of issues facing students and how the colleges and community organizations can provide support to ensure student success. And we also hope it's going to develop an understanding of the high school prep required to succeed in STEM programs in colleges. Next slide, please. So this series, like all the work, is being produced by Pellet in collaboration with nationally recognized advisors and content experts, education partners, and program evaluators. So we have a national advisory board, which is made up of ATE instructors and industry representatives, and they guide us throughout the production process and assess our progress all along the way. In addition, educational partners who have established relationships within the Hispanic and Latino communities, they helped us identify and provided access to participants for inclusion in the series. We have an external evaluator, and they assess the extent to which these bilingual videos are going to change student perception of technical careers and technical education. And we're also looking at if these videos are a catalyst to enrollment. Throughout post-production, we also conduct internal focus groups with our target audience to ensure we're producing content that resonates with them. Next slide, please. So this series, the ATE bilingual series of videos, this is going to be disseminated through a variety of channels or platforms. You'll be able to watch the videos on the site, which is atetv.org, or on the ATETV YouTube channel, on Vimeo, and through iTunes. The new series of videos is going to be available for download via teachingtechnicians.org. In addition, we will offer high-quality HD videos suitable for broadcast or other use, such as PowerPoint, and those can be downloaded at no cost and without copyright infringement for use in all media worldwide in perpetuity. And we usually offer those through an FTP site, or some people actually send us a drive where we clone the media and ship it back out. A future enhancement to all of this work is that we are currently working on a customization tool, and this is going to allow users to create their own videos using the ATETV footage. So all of our video content is currently being organized and tagged by topic of interest, discipline, school, location, groups, for example, females, and then users will be able to string together video sequences using what we like to call micro content, and you'll string this together to produce your own unique branded video, which you can label and put in your own on-screen identification and caption files and music. And that's what I have for you today. That's kind of the big picture. If you have any questions or need any guidance searching our videos, or if you have a story that we should consider for inclusion in any of our videos, my email address will be included on one of these slides. And if you're interested in being an alpha or beta tester on our customization tool, or if you'd even like to see a preview of some of our bilingual videos, just shoot me an email. Thank you.
Anthony, we already had several people raise their hands to take you up on your offer of that customization tool. It's just sort of stunning if you think about it, how these grant funds, both from the NSF and DOL, can provide this level of resources. I mean, one of the people in the chat window said, did he say free, unrestricted, in perpetuity, if I got that right? Did you really say that for the use of these videos?
That is correct. So all of these videos are for use, again, worldwide rights in perpetuity with no copyright infringement. And so, Michael, we also offer the raw footage, which would have the complete interviews. And all of our interviews have been transcribed. So not only do you have the footage, you have the transcriptions, because people may pull bites from the transcripts for inclusion in print materials. So we have an incredible resource here that's available at no cost.
Interesting. Pam has got, one of our presenters, Pam, has got her hand raised. Pam, do you have a question for Anthony?
Yes, Anthony, I am so excited about the availability of this because producing videos is something we were not able to do with our grant. If I wanted to get some videos to use now, which of the sites that you recommended or had on your slide would you say would be a good first starting point for me?
What I would do, if you go to ATETV.org, there's a search tool, right? It says search videos right on the home page, and that'll give you a good tool to search some of the videos. I also suggest if you go to the YouTube channel, the database built into YouTube, we have all the videos tagged. That's another good search tool. And then finally, if you'd like to download video without working through us, you can go to the Vimeo channel. And Vimeo allows for download.
Interesting. Good response there, Anthony. Some of us, I have to admit, I'm a bit naive about video production and the amount of time it takes. Let's suppose I invite you to my campus. And I say, okay, Anthony, what should I do? Set aside an hour for this shoot, or how much time would I need here?
So, Mike, when we take on a shoot, I'll walk you through the process, and I'll try to keep this under a minute.
Okay.
But each video takes about 61 hours to produce, and that's done over the course of anywhere between 3 months and 6 months. And each video goes through what we call discovery. So that's when we get an idea. When the idea gets promoted, it moves into development. The development stage, we flesh out the idea and ensure it meets the goals of the project. And then from there, we go into pre-production, which is formal research on the piece. That's when we're identifying participants for inclusion. We conduct phone interviews. We sometimes do site visits. Then we go on to the shoot, and each shoot day is typically 10 to 14 hours. We bring everything back into the edit room for post-production, where everything is transcribed. We have video screeners, the scripting begins, and then editing. The videos then go into testing and evaluation, because a project like this has the internal group, then it has educational partners, it has an advisory board, it has the ATE panel, and then it has external evaluators, in addition to the focus groups we conduct internally. Then it gets delivered, it gets disseminated, and then we support it. And support it means we help people download it, insert it into a PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes the captioning needs to be updated. So a video is really never done, but that kind of gives you a big picture of what's involved in creating a video.
It does. It's actually much more extensive than I thought. So thank you for that response. One last question for you, even though I've got several here. This one I think is interesting. Be honest, Anthony. Here, that's the way it starts. Should I engage my student video people, students that are in the video program at their college, to shoot something like this? Is it worth it? Could they do it? Any recommendations there?
Yeah, they can definitely do it, and if you would like, we can help coach them along the way. We can give them the conceptual framework of producing high-quality content. Today, everyone with an iPhone and iMovie, they're producing content, and you can see it on YouTube. But how do you rise above the noise? And you rise above the noise by having high-quality content. So content is king, Distribution is queen. High quality content with good audio, good video. And we're data-driven decision makers. Everything, every frame that goes into that video has been tested, and it's really kind of systematically put together. And we can help you do that.
That's a great offer. Your email is going to come up on the slide here. I hope you don't get too many bombarded. Well, maybe I do hope you'll get it. I'm going to write that down, Anthony. Content is king, distribution is queen. Good point in today's multimedia world. Folks, you've seen a whole series of interesting free resources today. One quick question for Pam. Pam, you had those bookmarks and posters and things like that. If somebody asked you for the, for the sources of those, maybe for the Adobe InDesign files or whatever that they could modify easily, would you be willing to send them that they could customize for their own purposes?
I'll tell you right now, with our grant, I've just talked to our person who is doing the development, and she's working at creating a template that we can then send, and people could create a merge file to personalize them. So that isn't developed yet. Right now I would be sending them a PDF file,
okay.
But if they send me the information, if they'd be willing to pilot it, we will have that available within the next month.
Nice. Final question for our panelists. Back to you, Gemma. Is your TAA stuff, all that veteran climbing things, is that available yet on the open educational resource site that TAACCCT grantees use, or your plans for putting it there?
Mike, it's not completed yet, but once it is finished, it will be out there on the shared site.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping you would say. Ladies and gentlemen, we're right at the conclusion of our webinar series. Let me give you a quick pitch for 2 upcoming webinars, actually 3. There's a 2-parter in September and October that talks about effective web telecommunications, and what they really mean is webinars and other ways of interacting with your internal or external groups. So keep that in mind. And on November 19th, excuse me, I went too far, you'll see an interesting topic on bridge learning communities. Many of you already know about that. The City College of San Francisco in their bioscience, biotech area has a very effective, long-running data, lots of data about it, about these bridge programs. Here's the things. Remember, you're going to be getting these slides and the what's his name? The recording of this. I'm sorry, and then this final slide, you'll see Pam, Gemma, Anthony's, and of course my address here at the Maricopa System. So don't hesitate to contact us. We're likely to learn as much from you as you will from us by the interaction. Everyone that officially closes our webinar today, let's give a hand. You can do a little drum roll on your desk, or you can just simply clap for our 3 presenters. Gemma, thank you very much. Pam and Anthony, I really appreciate your being part of this today. Just a very interesting webinar, and also I'm so impressed by those free resources. Thank you again, folks. That's going to conclude the system today. One last thing, as we shut down, there will be a short, and I mean really short, survey that pops up on your screen that asks you to click a couple of buttons and give us a little feedback on today's event so that we can improve it as we go forward. So here we go, CCTA, that's the name of our initiative, CCTA Forever. Thank you for joining today. Goodbye, everyone.